All right, Tracy, it's great to see you. Great to chat. As we've discussed, we're having this conversation, one to just show people what you're about, what your startup's about, and then also to talk about a little bit the Visionaries and Ventures Convention, that's geared to serve startup founders like yourself. So, Tracy, first of all, we're connected because of Harvard. What degree program are you in currently?
It's nice to see you, Bobby. Thanks for having me today. And I am in the Harvard Med School Masters of Clinical Service Operations program.
And so, what was it that made you want to apply for that degree?
I've been a clinician for the past near 2 decades, and I've really just loved my patients and enjoyed that. But I was looking to make a greater impact in the form of leadership. So I went back for this degree to get more of a business background. And while I was at Harvard Med School, I stumbled upon the Innovation Lab and fell in love with startups and realized that the highest impact I could make wasn't just one patient at a time, but that I could actually scale, SaaS platforms and offer digital therapeutics that could reach so many more patients and make such a greater impact that it was just so exciting and inspiring and to be around the environment with individuals such as yourself. And I think it just has inspired me to relentlessly continue this path that is exciting and exhausting altogether.
I agree that the healthcare space and startups and the ways those two mix is a really exciting space. And you are in that space operating as a startup founder. What's the name of your startup?
AriasHealth.AI.
AriasHealth.AI. And as you well know, the healthcare space is massive. It's somewhere close to 20% of America's GDP, and obviously there's a lot of different ways that you can have a startup in healthcare. So, what problem are you trying to solve?
Our startup is trying to solve substance use disorder in vulnerable populations, specifically the veterans population.
And what drew you to that?
It was personal. My cousin's daughter, Victoria, she was in her 20s. She had a little daughter who was 4 or 5 years old at the time. And she struggled with alcohol addiction for about a year. And she didn't really have a good support system. Her mom told her, I love you every day. She said she couldn't hear her. She struggled going to, some therapy sessions, and she even was admitted to, one of the places where she had to pay 20,000. And, when she came out a couple weeks later, she started drinking again. So one day she turned to her friends, and unfortunately, they introduced her to some drugs and it decreased her respirations. So she became unconscious in the car, and ultimately, she passed away from that. So they donated her organs. And, the same year, actually, my aunt was hit by a drunk driver and killed. So whether you have somebody in your family struggling with this problem or somebody struggling with this problem affects your family by, harming them in some capacity, I think it's just so connected to all of us that this is a really big problem with a stigma that many people don't want to address. So I figured, hey, there's an MIT boot camp on this, and this is an area that we should try and make a difference in.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, truly, many of the people watching this, myself included, have a connection to somebody somehow who's affected by this. And the fact that you're pursuing a solution is really noble, but also just very much needed. Um, when you think about startups and healthcare, sometimes they don't seem to mix because healthcare is very bureaucratic, slow, just a lot of massive institutions. Startups are kind of the opposite on all those fronts, or at least they try to be. How do those two things mix?
I love that you bring that up because that was one of the big excitements of startups is that, I work at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles. I've been there for the past 12 years as a nurse practitioner in interventional cardiology. So, I've worked on projects. It's a very slow process, getting a team built, meeting regularly, getting permission through administration. And so you're right, it's very slow for changes to occur. And then in startups, you can just, begin right away. And I think that they really do go hand in hand well in the sense that if you have an entrepreneur in the healthcare industry, you have all the knowledge of, decades or however long you may be there, you see everything. You see how physicians work, how advanced practice providers work, how scheduling works, the patient's journey. So you really understand areas of bottlenecks, problems in the industry firsthand. So I think that really gives you a leg up in understanding, which space you may want to focus in on. And then, when you've been in the industry for a while, you can become very connected, and obviously collaboration is the best way to build momentum that I found being such an early stage startup.
Can you speak a little bit to that and how you find value in being connected to other people?
I feel that's the biggest thing for everybody in life. I mean, even the whole point of this substance use disorder that I'm tackling, loneliness, and how individuals who feel alone and isolated may turn to alcohol, so they need others and that support. We all need that. We've all felt lonely. And, we can amplify each other's efforts by having somebody else, having a co-founder that you can rely on. You're only one person. So if there's two people, this helps out even more. And when it comes to teams, being able to get along with various team members, for example, in ours, somebody in computer science and machine learning, somebody who's really good at moving products to commercialization, myself who's more into clinician care and also clinical operations. So understanding where to get those special areas in your startup and then gathering those stakeholders together. I think that's the way to be able to really create a product that people would benefit from.
Well, Tracy, I didn't even prompt you necessarily to say all that. I mean, you just started talking about community. I asked you a little bit more, but that is right on point with what we're trying to highlight with the Visionaries and Ventures Convention. Um, I know personally, as one of the co-presidents of the Harvard Law Entrepreneurship Project, there's no way I could do a fraction of what we're able to accomplish without my team, and people coming from different backgrounds, different experiences, different perspectives. That's just so valuable. And what we're trying to accomplish with this convention is bringing people from different backgrounds, from different degree programs, different campuses and universities, all in one place. And everybody's dedicated to innovation, finding success in startups, building their professional skills and network. Um, and yeah, I don't know if I can really say it better than what you're saying. Like, yeah, everybody's got their own expertise that is so valuable. Um, Maybe just thinking about that topic, can you think of anybody who you've interacted with over the years who had a different perspective or background that you felt taught you something that you use in your startup now or have just used in your career?
I can think of somebody in particular, but because of HIPAA, I can't say. But it's somebody who's a huge player in the tech space. But this individual is a world leader and just has inspired me so much to understand how it's so possible to make changes in the world and seeing the way they thought about this process and addressed, global issues and spending hours with this individual has really changed my outlook and just, people go to their jobs, they just plug away, they're burnout, they go home, but this is an exciting space for us. We get to envision something in our mind that's better and actually create it by joining forces with others. So this is probably the person that comes to mind. Obviously, I have, a great Phil Green in the Innovation Lab has been my mentor. So he's amazing. I told him today, oh, you're my entrepreneurial therapist. So I think, you know, I could mention his name. But my biggest one would be this individual I've known through work.
Well, that's really cool. And certainly don't want you violating HIPAA on the social media content. But maybe well, actually, okay, I got two more questions. One is in the next 6 months, what does startup success look like for AriasHealth.AI?
Really defining our product market fit and knowing that the product we have is really solving the issue, right? Phil Green says, "Oh, you go on Amazon, you look at, the product. Why do you buy it? Oh, because all the reviews say it works, right?" So we're not just like, "Oh, I'm going to do this project and now I made it on the, software platform and it's going to work." No, so for us it's, really knowing that the product we have, the end user wants it, it helps them, and we're finding a way to validate that our intervention is actually making a positive outcome. So I think for us, that would be it, in addition to hopefully maybe starting a pilot. So, validating the product MVP and potential pilot um, sites.
Well, another unprompted perfect tie-in because Phil Green is actually running a workshop at the Visionaries and Ventures Convention.
Oh, he's the best. I love him.
That's an amazing endorsement. This worked out so perfectly. So last question is there any advice maybe that you've received or you've just learned through your experience, any word of wisdom that you would offer to other founders who might be watching this video?
Mm, I think just don't give up, don't give up and believe in yourself and be authentic. And if you come from a good place and you're willing to work with other people and really understand that you're in love with the um, problem and not your solution you think is correct, I think you can always keep at it and eventually you will be successful if you're persistent. I think that I've become successful in the past because I don't give up and I just keep at it. So sometimes it's hard, life gets in the way, things happen, people get tired, it just not working out. I think just, leaning on one of your entrepreneurial friends and asking for advice, I think that you will make it. So my advice is just don't give up, be persistent.
Oh, and I will not try to top that. What a perfect way to end the conversation. Tracy, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate all your support. Thank you.